and FURIA.
Well, apparently social media is thinking that it's going to be DarkZero. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but we're going to find out. FURIA has been looking pretty dastardly at certain moments, but you could say the same for DarkZero, especially in their series yesterday up against TSM. Most importantly, Canadian popping off in a lot of different manners, not only in the game, but also out, as I'm sure everybody saw those clips on Twitter. And if you didn't, I mean, are you living under a rock? That's the real question. We're going to get into the ban phase now, folks. We're going to have some pretty interesting ones here from DarkZero. They'll remove Wamai on defense. Florals will be removed from FURIA, as they'll be removing the last ban here on the defensive end, and we'll have to see exactly what this is going to be. It's going to be Mira, so we got a little bit of things to talk about. Biggest things is Flores is obviously really, really good against deployable shields and things of that nature, whereas Wamai, he's got a direct counter, and that's actually Capital. So this is going to open up Capital quite a bit for the offensive side, and wouldn't you know it, that's where DarkZero is starting.
All right, so let's see here where exactly is FURIA going to start their defense. So that's the next big question. It's going to be downstairs here inside of a kitchen hold. Lots of utility mitigation coming in for their lineup, in addition to the Thunderbird pick there to reinvigorate some of these more aggressive swings, as oftentimes we see those extended positions coming into play here. Those players losing damage in the early round will have to fall back to the site eventually, and if they've lost about half or so of their HP from an earlier fight they've taken, well, the Kona stations can help out quite nicely in that, getting those players back up to full strength to fend off the eventual attack that will fully come into the site from DarkZero. Let's get into the round here and take a look at the strategy now, as our teams will be setting up.
Lenda's going to 6-pick off of Valkyrie and bring in Mute instead. Makes a lot of sense for this site. Obviously, Valkyrie has a lot of applications overall for anything. If you want some extra information, then you're more than likely going to bring her, but they're going to use Mute to be able to hold on to a lot of these walls, make it a little bit more difficult for DarkZero to actually move their way in. Obviously, this is going to get in the way of Canadian as well, which has been on the rotation when it comes to operators played inside of this lineup here for DZ, so expect him to be on a myriad of different things.
Away from that, of course, you're going to see a little bit of extension upstairs here too, looking like the Mute playing into that one. Might just be setting up some utility as well to mitigate some of the intel coming out from DarkZero, but time will decipher that mystery for us relatively quickly. As we've got DarkZero on the board now, a nice drone sneaking its way in the kitchen here is actually going to provide some good intel to this team when they get to their actual execute inside of the last minute or so. So remember that if DarkZero are going to suddenly start popping off on kills, you guys at home should know why, because that drone will be providing the intel necessary to allow that to happen. See some members of the team here start to put initial pressure in towards areas like the whiskey bar and whatnot, with a bit of a focus on entering through the front door, but a few more also going to work on getting that third floor control going, so they won't have to worry about a vertical retake from FURIA when they're ready to move into the site.
DarkZero has a lot to worry about and a lot to do when it comes to this map overall. This top floor is actually being held on to FURIA in the moment. Rare going to pop off immediately and take down Pambazoo. Now DZ, glaringly aware of the issue around the map. Still have quite a few FURIA bodies up on that second floor that they're going to have to worry about. DarkZero really want to gain access to the train space so they can begin breaking up the flooring, making life a little bit difficult for these anchor players. But you can already see that FURIA are going to be holding on to this for some time.
A bit of a quiet time here now as eyes, well, yeah, that drone rolling past here. Won't necessarily be able to take care of it though, but still in a pretty hard lock position here over towards VIP. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say, hopefully having some utility mitigation and ADS maybe there to save the day, but apparently not. He's just getting a Kobe landing right on top of it there. It'll take him out nice and easily to even us out down to a 4v4.
Always have to respect the frag grenades, as apparently some ADS is not properly positioned in the moment. Also able to clear out, well, yes indeed. Also able to clear out that laser gate, and that's going to open things up here for NJR to land that second frag grenade onto yet another unsuspecting FURIA member. X-Kairos down now to be able to clear out the prep kitchen, as Fantasy will be holding on to Bakery here for the moment. Miracle now taking some heat from the back end as well, but it's a full wrap here from DZ. The other two FURIA members, well, one upstairs at the top of red, the other one inside of Small Bakery. Fantasy will be able to land his shots here as he transitions back in, and so will Lenda, as he'll take the man advantage here in round one.
Fantasy continuing to sit behind the bakery walls here and wanting to try and waste as much time as possible, but very quickly not going to be able to do that anymore as Hyper's torn through the entire front hallway setup as he takes out two players back to back here. Miracle now left alone, but thankfully so is the last player for DarkZero as he takes down Eclipse. One left, but no, okay, it's a trade, and it's looking like FURIA is going to end up taking that round as a result of it, as we did not have a plant.
Super unfortunate there for FURIA, or rather DarkZero, as FURIA will gain that round. Just had to make sure there for just a split second.
Everyone's celebrating, so I kind of made a safe assumption there.
Yeah, just had to wait for it to come up on our end. And yeah, beautiful shots there as Hyper actually with a triple kill inside of that round as well. And that's honestly fantastic to see. Hyper has not been having the greatest of lands, and honestly, that's a little strange when it comes to him overall. We do expect quite a bit from Hyper, especially with his overall play across the last 2 years inside of NA and in international competition as well. And well, I told you about it last round. It's going to come to fruition in the second. Canadian already switching gears, and this time it's for Akali.
And just to once again really quickly explain how those final seconds broke down, I know I said it really quickly, guys, but in the event that the final 2 players are on the opposite team from each other and they trade, because it is possible to do that in Siege, the defenders will win in all circumstances unless the diffuser has been planted. In that circumstance, then the attackers will win in that trade.
Correctamundo, my friend, and that's simply because the objective dictates whether or not you win via the bomb. That's why there's no one there to plant the diffuser via the defense win, because they successfully defended the bomb.
Yep, so while both players technically got the kill at the same time, bomb was still eventually going to blow up. So
hey, exactly. It is what it is. It was going to reach that 0 timer and go off, and that's exactly why that ended up going through. So great explanation there, my friend. That one's always a little complicated when it happens, so hopefully you guys at home are not too confused. Especially in round 1 of the game. I was not really suspecting to see that go down.
To be fair, that happens like super rarely. That's only like the second or third time I've seen that happen.
I was going to say, I honestly think that might be the first time that you and I have actually had that happen whilst casting together, which we've been casting together a long time at this point, my friend. So pretty interesting stuff to start us off here between DZ and FURIA.
All right, well, we've got the members of DarkZero quickly up on top of the building here, looking to put the vertical pressure back into this map relatively quickly here after an unfortunate turn of events. So close, but yet so far from claiming that first round here as they're able to bring it down to a 1v1. That's after having the advantage as well. Big clutch as Panba is going to be able to catch the run out here from Fantasies. He's trying to get aggro over by Piano Window and pays the price for it. Is on the cap can, so while the rifle loss is going to be certainly missed, as will the player, those cap can traps will certainly stay alive here and could do some serious damage, especially with the recent changes to them. If you haven't played Siege in a while, you might be thinking like, oh, they're only going to do like 50 damage at most. Well, you can stack them now, meaning that you have the capability to outright kill a player if you commit 2 to a single doorway. And of course, the attacker ends up walking through both of them.
It can really, really hurt. Also, they do a very good job of soaking up time, because once one goes off, you have to check every single door frame and window, like Heiz is checking in the moments, but it's NJR instead to take him down. You expect FURIA to extend themselves, but that can also lead you into some pretty damning moments, and that's exactly what's going to happen. 2 quick bodies here from DZ. They'll take some serious damage in the process, but nothing they can't deal with in the moment, as it is a 5 versus 3.
Relatively quiet opening to this round, aside from those 2 opening kills there. In terms of map control, DarkZero has really only just gotten into the building here, but they've already started out with a bang with frags against both Heiz and punishing the aggression from Fantasy as well there. Heiz was trying to dodge the fight, but couldn't do so. No, another player going to get caught. This is despite counter pressure coming in from pillars across the hallway through soft walls as well. Rare will get down, but nobody wants to try and test their luck on swinging the corner to confirm him here. So there is actually a slight chance for Miracle or possibly the other member of FURIA, Lenda, to sneak over and revive Rare here as DarkZero's taken a step back to confirm there's no additional shenanigans going on the inside there. Rare quickly running out of time to be revived though, so Lenda might want to speed it up a bit, but the cross has been established. I think Lenda's just said, man, I think I gotta leave you here as much as I want to save you. It's not looking like it can happen. In about 3, 2, 1, there he goes. Rare finished off on his down timer.
And Hyper quickly doubling down on these kills. Yet another one for him as Lenda will fall. We'll have Miracle be the last one alive as he'll be able to catch Canadian hopping over the balcony. Another stun in Dwight, and Miracle blinded as he tries to dip down. Good game sense, but he's going to run immediately into Canadian with a secondary pistol out as he'll be able to run down Brown over to White and find the Echo.
Canadians saying, are you going to stun me if I don't kill you? That futile yokai charge came out there in the final seconds of the round. Just not much playmaking capabilities left for that final member on FURIA, so DarkZero quickly rebound.
You're talking an awful lot for someone within striking distance. That's probably what Canadian was thinking right there. So, first round there for DZ after the initial trade goes down from FURIA, and I just got to stick to this Hyper subject here for a second, John. Mostly because of what we've seen from him this land. A .88 -8 at the moment and -13. Yeah, something serious going on over on the A stream right now. You guys should probably check that out because Fluke is going off, and that definitely signifies something. But either way, back to the subject that we're talking about over here on Bravo. Yeah, Hyper -13 at the moment for his KD spread. That's something that we literally never see when it comes to this man. So nice to see him popping off and finding his stride here on Kafe.
Not only that, but there's been other members of DarkZero that have stepped up here. Keep in mind, DarkZero did a slight rebuild to their roster earlier on and rather throughout the course of this year, bringing in some new blood instead of relying on kind of the old Titans that had been their trademark, as had been the case for a lot of teams inside of North American Rainbow Six Siege for some time as well there. They brought NJR into the fold, who had a good run in 2020 as a rookie, I believe, under Disrupt, correct?
I'll say the name again. I'm sorry, I was trying to make sure
NJR.
I wasn't thinking. NJR. I want to say it was that. I'll double check for you
I think it was Disrupt, if I remember correctly, but you can confirm for me. And then obviously in the middle of this year, bringing Panbazoo directly up from the CL as well here. Ended up being a very prominent pickup for this team, and we've already seen NJR be worth his weight in gold so far this tournament, just in the matchup.
Fantastic job, my friend. Your Liquipedia brain is on point.
Nice.
Indeed, 2020. You went from 92 Redeem Team to Disrupt Gaming, and then finally up to DarkZero. Disrupt, especially back in the day, having so much talent run through that team. Gotcha actually playing for that team, I believe, at one point as well. So, I mean, there's just so many different names that we've seen ended up going through that. So, either way, about 40 seconds here on to round 3. FURIA going to be holding on to the top floor here. Obviously worried about that cocktail space and what could go on down low, so they'll have some bodies around the area to make sure that DarkZero can't get a hold of that. But fortunately enough for them, it doesn't seemingly look as though DZ really want that in the first place. Obviously because of the lack of utility in order to actually do anything with that area, as they won't have a Buck or Zofia, really anything to affect Verticality, minus frag grenades, but we know how often those have been used at this land. And speak of the devil, he will show his face. A frag grenade out to destroy the Goyo shield here, and impact out to get rid of the air jab as well.
Flash of panic there for Fantasy. You guys probably saw it on your screen too. The red nade getting a little close to it. Thankfully it was an uncooked nade. That one going to be chucked in and nearly grabs Lenda as well here, but going to be running low on supply here now for DarkZero after those had been thrown. Should be about halfway through their overall usage of nades here. As we can see, actually, never mind, 3/4, I'm pretty sure if I'm tracking it properly. NJR might still have one in his pocket, but Hyper is fresh out of nades, and there you go. Yeah, NJR's got one left. So let's see if DarkZero are going to be able to properly utilize that, as we were coming down to the last third of this round here, approaching the 1 minute mark. But at the same time, DarkZero are starting to make their forward momentum to try and get deeper into this third floor hold here. Finally taking some control of top red, and Hyper striking true yet again here, as he's able to get the first kill of the round against Lenda.
6-1-1 at the current moment. Hyper seeming inevitable on this map, at least as of right now. 48 seconds remaining here in round 3 as Fantasy will finally land some shots. It's on the Canadian on the skylight who was face checking that. And he'll move forward inside of the bar. Panbazoo will find him through the cross on the trash wall though, as they've given up Christmas early on here, especially with the wall going down. Panbazoo just simply going to crawl in, as he'll be able to hold on to this for a time. Some more Selma charges going down as well, and Panbazoo landing some serious shots. He'll take down Rare. It's a triple kill for him on the round. It's all left up to Highs, as he will have to try and play prevent for this plant.
Highs, the nearly futile task put in front of him again for safety. He goes back downstairs just to establish safer angles in case he's going to get swung from white side. Doesn't even happen though. He's got to fully go back into the site here. Will get vision onto Hyper and return some damage too, so a good start to this one. But now the clock is ticking, and it's going to stop ticking pretty quickly as Panba secures a 4th overall kill on the round. Beautifully played from him. We were just talking about him as well, as he shuts it down for DZ here and puts another one on the board for them, allowing them to take the lead at 2-1.
The ARXs are coming alive right now for DarkZero as they continue to put FURIA bodies in bags. We'll see if they can continue to do so on this offensive side. As you all know, Kafe usually tends to be a defender-sided map, so this is quickly starting to run away from FURIA, and that's exactly why we're going to have this tack pause.
A very quick one coming in as well here. It's very early days for FURIA, but they're feeling that they have something to immediately throw in, some input to be made by their coach. They're sitting in the back, so considering that, we'll see what type of changes are going to come into the fold. Here's FURIA now finally go towards a 2nd floor hold for them themselves over in Fireplace and mining this time to see if that will finally yield results after only being able to control the first floor hold, and even then just barely doing it with a trade confirming the round.
All smiles on the DZ bench, and I mean, why wouldn't they? Especially after the start that they had to this LAN, they've got to be very, very happy with the results that they've been able to come up with, especially as of right now. They're looking like they can seriously do some damage to some teams. I'm hoping this isn't just a fluke in the current moment and that this continues on for DarkZero into our main stage, but just as a reminder for you folks, the reason that FURIA is being so serious about this matchup is because this is for whoever goes to the winner's side of the bracket. That means a whole heck of a lot at the end of the day. It also gives you an extra life as you can get knocked down to the lower bracket and still play through to the finals.
So if you're looking to play in for that, we'll be following their results very closely in this round and talking very seriously about it too. DarkZero, like we were talking about before, locked in, but not a whole lot in terms of their capability to climb the ranks and have in a better position, such as that upper bracket play. So we will have to see what type of performance they're going to continue to give us. Things are looking quite promising for them with the pressure lifted, it seems. Hyper specifically having himself quite the ball game as of these past few rounds. And as you just saw there, Panba as well, finding some great contributions with a quad, I believe, coming out from him on the previous round. New setup coming in once again here for FURIA, though, as they're going to be holding into the second floor. So let's take a look and see how this is going to go. Lots of roaming potential once again alive. You got a Valkyrie, a Mute. On top of that, we've got the Melusi, and we have a Thunderbird, too, to make the site a bit more palatable. And this is on top of the intel as well as the firepower coming in there on Hyze's choice.
We've been seeing Thunderbird quite a lot in comparison to what we saw initially when she came out. A lot of people finding some very good mileage when it comes to these Kona stations and their ability to heal up your teammates, especially when it comes to some of those dire moments. We see them used in a couple of different patterns. The most interesting one, I would say, happened to us yesterday where we saw them triple stacked inside bunker as well as reading. So we'll see if FURIA want to try and go for something similar, but as of right now, it's looking like the standard setup. Just spread them out, put them in some hard-to-reach places for the offenders, make it easy for your on-site players to try and get to them. Maybe slap one upstairs if you really need it, if you are going to have an extended hold here. But as of right now for FURIA, this is looking like a lot of horizontal play, all except for Cocktail, which is of the utmost importance to this side overall.
JR will begin the process of ascension up towards the roof here. The team does need to go for the top-down clear now. They've analyzed their options for the assault from the side in areas like Helm, whatnot. Not going to be favoring it this time around here. And JR now gets in position. We'll see the normal assault made by the rest of DZ, as they'll be trying to gain access to these areas as quickly as possible to get themselves in and started taking that third floor control. It'll be very much needed before they can even think about getting closer towards this site play here. In terms of FURIA's play, once again, we were talking about this before, they have got a lot of very mobile operators in the lineup right now, and that means that we are going to have a very mobile setup for them too. We can see some deployments over towards Cocktail, allowing them to hold their third floor positioning, and that of course will now be confirmed by NJR. They're spotting it out on the drone. So let's see how quickly DZ can clear this out, because realistically they need to try and accomplish this inside the next minute or so here if they want to be on good pace to still take control of the second floor site.
Hatches opened up, and DarkZero also working on the ticket wall as well. Just remember, guys, that they do indeed have to attack the second floor, and they need to try and pressure off most of FURIA. That's why Cocktail ends up being so very important here, because it looks over long bar, as well as has a hatch to be able to escape, just in case White Stairs ends up being a hot spot for DZ's damage. Hyper begins clearing out the space. He'll get rid of some mute jammers. Also notices the nitro hole in the floor that is pretty routine when it comes down to it. Usually end up chucking a nitro or just working that angle there. That way these Cocktail players, or rather cigar shop players, are at least in some hot water from a different space. Hyper going to be holding on to this area for a time. Seemingly clearing this out with NJR and these drones is, well, FURIA just going to fall off instead. They'll drop down that hatch, and now DZ have top control.
Hyper still hunting for his first initial target here, as there's going to be a yellow ping on at least one of the second floor holds, and now it's going to, all they focus on is, man, there was no time being wasted with that sledge opening. Beautifully done. Great teamwork from DarkZero, as it's Hyper and Panba ripping up that first member of FURIA as soon as NJR opens up the top-down angle. They're going to look to see if they can do this again, but of course we'll need a bit more intel for that. This is the problem, stacking up those nitros can come in and respond quite nicely for the defense, as we're going to see one of them strike true to take out Eclipse, and some other good damage going to be done to players like NJR and Hyper also.
Very well done, and now FURIA looking to try and pressure out towards red stairs. They found a safe haven, be able to hide from the DZ members, but where is this plant going to go down? A smoke out in the cross-held. Does Miracle find himself a triple? Heisel take down Canadian. It's all left up to the window player in the legs of NJR. That 81 will continue to spit bullets until the end of the round, guaranteeing FURIA just that.
Yeah, the Alda with no issues holding off the rest of that rappel, and our player from DarkZero not even really wanting to try and contest that. So we are in an even fight once again at 2-2 here. Keep in mind once more, FURIA, the one trying to fight, trying to guarantee themselves the top one in this group. So they cannot falter here, as they're going to want the clean 2-0 to make the best chance of that possible here. We'll go back to the second floor once again here, as they'll go towards the other variation of this site over inside of Reading Room, as FURIA has found a winning formula, and they do not want to deviate from it.
Yes, indeed, this second floor of the utmost importance when it comes to the site rotations here on Kafe, as it has some of the best ones, especially when it comes to the Reading Room Fireplace Hall defense, which is arguably the most defender-sided one out of all of them. A lot of teams really used to clearing out that top floor, so Bar Cocktail tends to be a little risky when it comes down to it. Obviously, still a very good site just because Kafe is defender-sided, but that second floor, if you can limit people from clearing out that top floor very quickly, it almost guarantees you the round on time. So we'll have to see what FURIA can possibly do with that top space. And ladies and gents, we're a couple of moments away from getting into round 5. Just stick with us as we figure out this technical issue.
Because just like, guys, we'll get the admins looking into that immediately here and figure out what the slight problem is. Hopefully just a quick fix, and then we will continue our play as DarkZero now looks to rebound themselves and take back the lead on, like we said before, what's going to be that additional second floor hold for the members of FURIA here. Once again, things are also going to look a little bit brighter for themselves as they can stick with pretty much the same formula here. The operator lineup that we're potentially going to get is going to look a little bit different, as we are going to get a bit more mitigation this time, a bit more focus on the actual site, and a Rooney and a Jaeger currently picked up by the team. And on top of the smoke coming back into the fold as well to the light inside of the actual site that was missing from the last one due to the, I think, larger amount of variance that the attackers have in terms of where they can assault it from. This time, it's not going to be so much the case. You've got the Hell route to work your way in from the outer balcony doorway, or of course a hop down from the third floor against Reading Room, or you can descend from the area, working yourself over by the hatch there. So once you have been able to decipher which path is going to be the best here, the smoke can get in the way. And yeah, we've it's not very technical, it's more medical pause at this point. It looks like a member of FURIA cut their finger, so that's why we are on break at this point to remedy that.
It just so happens to be fantasy, so I hope that he's going to be okay. I believe that's on his mouse hand as well. Can we get a camera back over here? What? Okay, yeah, it is indeed going to be on his mouse hand. Oh man, that really, really sucks. Whenever you end up having like an injury on your hand on that mouse side, it can make things so weird, and having that Band-Aid there can change up the way that you have to hold your mouse. So I know for some of the people that more than likely watch Siege that don't really play on M&K or anything like that, you're probably like, Stokes, what the hell are you talking about? But, you know, it really can play and affect the way that you aim and things like that. So be looking to Fantasy now to see what he can possibly get done. He's 2-4 at the moment, so I really don't, I really hope that this doesn't end up affecting him all that much, because FURIA desperately need him in the moment.
Clearly just let it bleed. It's got to be the better
If he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you couldn't separate fantasy.
Listen, if he gets a little lightheaded, just get him a juice box.
I mean, hey, that's true. Dude, I'll take a Juicy Juice any day of the week. Those things are amazing. You're speaking to the kid in me now, John. Come on.
All right, well, let's get back into this round here. It's like we were talking about during the pause there, looking like FURIA going to give us a lot of the same things, specifically on the third floor. Obviously, the second floor setup's going to vary quite a bit, as we'll be on a different part of the map, but still very much a lot of the things you guys would come to expect here. The usual rotations to lend credence to the defense over here inside of the dining room, where a lot more of it's going to be focused. That applies to areas like J and, of course, the white stairs too, which will be pivotal to FURIA's success on this defense.
Also have Rare holding down the wall here for Reading as well with an Electro Claws. DarkZero climb to the roof and begin their clear of this map. Fantasy will be around the red space. He's just going to hightail it out of there, and you can't exactly blame him with the angles already coming in onto him. Have an ADS here to be able to at least assist him in holding on to this deployable shield, but has quite a few other options at his disposal as well. Still 2 reinforcements in their pockets past this reinforcement that he just used, so don't necessarily know where those were exactly supposed to be going, but FURIA apparently not needing them in the moment.
About a minute already off the clock here, very quickly ticking down round despite the relative inaction from both of our teams so far. That's going to start to change, though, over the next few. We can already see DarkZero, specifically Panba, lined up to put pressure on the extended pixel setup here for FURIA, which also applies to the bathroom sitting right next door to that. No success on him holding the repel, so instead it's over here to start setting up counters for rotates on FURIA's end here by knocking in those air jabs, which will knock an opponent down if they cross them, should they be so bold as to challenge it. Default maybe getting left up there for the benefit of FURIA, so Panba just quickly shooting that out. And now the rest of DZ into the map, into the site, or into the third floor at a minimum. Is also find out that Valkyrie camera real quick and remove that intel from the defense.
DZ starting to set their clear up for this top floor as Hyper clears through. Already have someone working their way in for the Heaven balcony, as well as Canadian will find one on a pretty ratty spot, but Fantasy, he can out-rat the rat as he comes up white stairs, will take down Canadian and be able to equalize here. So very well done for him, or rather brown stairs, apologies for that folks, but either way, Fantasy will be able to get back down low, and apparently the Band-Aid not affecting his grip too much as he'll be able to land those shots.
Slow build up here as they'll throw in the Gemini drone to get rid of the laser gate blocking off their access into Cocktail. Just a matter of convenience more than anything. Here's obviously FURIA is not going to have any capability to reignite that now that DarkZero will have full control of the third floor. I say that, but someone could get a little cheeky if they wanted to here. And not important though, as Hyper has now taken out Fantasy through the hatchwork in Cigar there as Fantasy tries to challenge it. Highs will respond in kind by taking out Panba. They kill opening things up here, but DarkZero once again need to speed things up, and Hyper's going to help out to do that as he eliminates Highs going into the smoke as they pressure past that and get themselves in. But here comes Lenda on a possible flank. That's left Miracle out on an island here now as Lenda's push will be unsuccessful. He can do nothing to stop the plan. It goes down without a hitch, and now Miracle's left alone, having to fear a top-down angle against himself as well. To swing in, he's got tracers to play with, and he nearly gets a kill to start out this retake, but not enough. And as, on top of that, he's already used his Nitro Cell. Not going to have any easy capability to knock out the player, or at least cause some fear from up on top. So this is a tough ask and near impossible play for Miracle to make inside of the 1v3. He's going to try his best, but he might not even get a chance as the nade comes in from NJR. Banks a bit too early here, however, so Miracle will get his chance yet, but he's quickly running out of time. Nice shot against NJR, but it means very little when the trade immediately comes in from Hyper, and the round still goes into the pocket of DarkZero.
Hyper is 9-2 right now, just taking it to FURIA with this Yana in the moment. They have one more round on this offensive side as well. He's already above a 1.0 KPR. That's truly incredible to start off this game, especially up against such a fiery LATAM squad. DarkZero looking to go up 4-2 on this offensive half. And not only that, this is FURIA's map choice.
Absolutely the case here. So we're actually going to see, I think, for the only time since they won it back in round number 1, a return down to the first floor hold there from FURIA. Not a lot of confidence, apparently, inside of that hold, considering the overall results from that round. We're only going to go back to it here on round number 6. But either way, they do finally make the return, as they'll go for the Hail Mary, it seems, here to try and get themselves a third round and equalize the scoreboard yet again. DarkZero will bring the appropriate roster needed to respond to that.
Do have an update from Stream A as to what was going on over there. So if you do not want to know what's going on in the TSM via Elevate game, please mute your
3, 2, 1, go.
3, 2, 1, go. 7-5 Elevate on the first map, my friend. That is actually pretty incredible stuff. So make sure if you guys have dual monitors or just like a phone or a tablet or something, you slap up both of these streams, because I'm going to tell you, they're both going to be pretty damn spicy. So hopefully you guys like some heat. Otherwise, well, you might want to just stick to one stream. Either way, though, DarkZero ahead over here is, well, hopefully you guys have your clients unmuted once again. So hello as we rejoin and round 6 commences.
See here what the opening gambit will be from DarkZero is once more not going to be a whole lot built up inside of this first minute of play, but the operator lineup here coming in from FURIA once again favoring heavy utility mitigation, but also trying to block off access to some of the hard breach from DarkZero also as they bring the Cade into the fold. But Fantasy yet to use either the Electroclaw, so a little bit of an active play here with that utility. More than likely want to wait and see the path from DarkZero. Once again, this is a bit of a dynamic site. They have a few options in terms of where they want to take their attack, so I think they want to see what that looks like before they commit either one of those pieces of utility.
DarkZero for the time, well, looking for some things around the lobby space, at least for Hyper's sake. could end up using that Gemini to clear out the area as well. Lots of info gain for DarkZero in this lineup, especially with Canadian back onto the Jackal. And as we were talking about, this is going to be 3 separate ops that Canadian has tried out. We've seen him try Jackal a little earlier on. He was also playing Twitch and some Kali all at the same time. A little cheeky way to get inside of doors for you guys at home as well. You don't have to break them fully. If you can make a crouch hold, you can actually slide on through those. And it's a pretty easy way to sneak up on your opponent because everyone is trained to listen for those doors to break. Once they hear 2 busts, they're like, oh, I mean, maybe somebody's not in the building. And then all of a sudden you have a Troy Canadian approaching on you and encroaching for that frag. He's going to be able to secure this mid floor, so DarkZero will begin to rotate in, at least for NJR's sake, as he'll begin breaking up the floor inside of mining.
Nitro primed and ready to go for Fantasy. Not a lot of intel being thrown in. Oh, and JR as well. Sees that player. I think he saw the arm prime, but oh, Fantasy still actually able to make a hit too. Eclipse ends up becoming the target instead of NJR. So that's going to end up being a good opener here for the members of FURIA. Clean kill against Eclipse and no spot against the one down below either. Fantasy with some great utility usage. It's not the only Nitro they have. Lenda could still cause future problems for this team as they still have a lot more openings to clear.
Yes, indeed. And that minute remaining, NJR with a possible frag. And oh, Fantasy, why are you peeking, my friend? Get dusted as NJR takes him down. This is going to prompt Hyper to start moving forward. And he's going to find a freebie as Rare tries to rotate down red. He's got prep all to himself. 10-2 at the moment. An amazing KD as he's at a 5.0 at the time. Jackal also reading out where the other member is. Miracle, don't step up to the plate. Hyper's found his stride, folks. 11-2 now, as it's down to Highs and Lenda.
Lenda with the top down might be able to stop this first planet tap, but no, the angle's not going to be presented here. No way to see where it's going down, and NJR confirms it just as he was getting close to the spot as well. Highs now spotted also. Good trade from Lenda, but it's only the beginning of a very long road once again here. You guys have seen this. This is very familiar territory here for FURIA, as once again, it's a nigh impossible 1vx with a very quickly diminishing time bank. Reads the rotate, but again, it's only the Gemini, so no dice in terms of locking in a second kill against this hold from DZ now, as Hyper stays alive and well at 11-2 here. Creeping back in, not looking like a real attempt is going to be made, and even if he does, he's about to walk right into the crosshairs of Hyper. Gives him the warning, but even still wins the fight regardless, as Hyper makes it 12-2 now, 6.0 KD as we work ourselves into the second half.
Truly disgusting stuff coming from Hyper, as that's only on one half of the coin. He still has an entire defensive set to be able to try and push this to new heights here, John. We could see possibly the highest rating that we've had this entire time. We'll just have to see. And for FURIA, I mean, across the board throughout this tournament, they've all actually been doing pretty well. The lowest rating on this team at the moment, at least before this match, was Lenda at a 1.02, whereas for DarkZero, it actually was Hyper at a 0.88. Canadian a little bit ahead of him at a 0.92 as well, but now DZ seemingly firing on all cylinders. This is not like the team that we casted before.
Maybe DZ finally finding their stride here, getting their confidence on international soil. Seem to be missing from the most recent appearance for this team. The first with Canadian in the leadership position back during the Sweden Major. I had a talk with Canadian a few months back, I think even before the Sweden Major as well, and he told me again the focus for this team was to be prepared for SI, was to give the best performance possible there. That's where they were going to show the world what they were made of. Already have been able to confirm their way outside of the groups and into the playoff stage, and now has to show the rest and the other regions here inside of our global division what exactly they are made of.
I mean, you have to ask yourself, is it really an SI without Canadian there? My answer, probably not. And it seems like we're going to get just that. Luckily enough for us, neither of these teams can be knocked out because they're both pretty damn interesting, not only to watch but to commentate as well. Very excited for both of these teams' future, but as of right now, DarkZero are just dicing up FURIA. Very well done so far from them. Now FURIA out and about for the very first time on their offensive side, and let's take a look at this lineup, John. They've got some different ideas here. Biggest one being Miracle on this IQ. Ash will also be along for the ride as well with her breaching rounds.
So that bit of a slow process once again to build up towards that point in the round. We did see the 6th pick from Miracle to bring an IQ into place. They're going to be able to quickly isolate out all this utility. And more importantly, when we get ourselves into the final few seconds of the round here, they'll be able to spot out any potential yokai drone positions if this ends up being a bit of a close contention where they have to get that diffuser down at no time, or they don't want to take the risk of potentially losing it to just a nice little stun that comes out from one of those drones. So that should be a good insurance policy, assuming they're able to keep it alive until we get to that point. 2 minutes left, though. FURIA already starting on working for the clear as DarkZero did not take up any presence on the 3rd floor, so it's an easy process there. I think the same applies to our 2nd floor positions as well. DZ focusing entirely on a horizontal hold this time around, so FURIA has all the time in the world to set up for their assault.
And as for DZ's defensive setup, I mean, looking at this lineup, it's quite interesting, especially with Eclipse bringing Tachanka and a lot of teams finding quite a bit of mileage when it comes to this operator, specifically on the kitchen site with the amount of denial that he has with 14 of those frag grenades, or rather fire grenades that he has inside of his launcher. So DZ able to prevent things pretty well. Hyper now standing up inside of lobby with a lot of DZ assistance around the whiskey bar space. FURIA will begin breaking things up on this 2nd floor as they want to try and prioritize clearing the kitchen area. But as of right now, there's no one in the site, folks. DarkZero don't need anybody in the site because they're holding all of the other avenues to actually get there. Currently, everyone is just right on the outskirts of it. They can collapse back in at any moment if they see fit, but that would require FURIA to find some serious intel first.
It's going to be FURIA still just slowly clearing things out, opening up the obvious rotates they need in order to properly leverage around this assault. They are going to be able to find out a player's position too because of their usage of IQ here. As a quick reminder, as we don't see her use that often, if a player is on camera, that will show up on the scanner here. But the first kill of the round, and only 40 seconds, goes to NJR. 2nd one will be found by DarkZero as well, with only 1 exchange coming in for FURIA, bringing us in to a 4 versus 3. But it seems as though FURIA has found enough room to bargain for a plant. But look at this now. Hyper on the flank, working himself back in, finds the planter for free. That's going to drop Rare. Highs as well as Miracle, the only ones left. Highs with a good quick exchange to stop the wrath of Hyper as he held that top-down position here. So all the pressure falls back now to the main squad, holding on to the site here as they'll have to work their way back around. Of course, has the laser gate to move in towards, but no, Canadian not ready for the aggressive push from Miracle, but at the same time, Eclipse not ready for the swing from Miracle as he takes him down there. Miracle going down. We still have 2 frags on play for the attackers as well, and they're going to be used now by Highs. Oh no, I think it banked. I don't know if it dropped where they needed to. He can still take him out though, and now there's no time left. We're past the point of no return. Highs has done it. He's clutched it out for FURIA, and they're now going to go up 4-3.
Now that's the biggest issue over there for DZ. When you leave the site like that, you have to have intel. You have to have insight as to what's going on there, and just not seemingly enough in the moment. Unfortunate round for DarkZero as they had it initially, but just not able to get away with it, especially with Hyper upstairs, not really aware of that player there over on white stairs for FURIA that was able to end up picking up that kill. So very well done there from Highs to be able to play out from that position. That frag grenade getting a little scary there. If he cooked it a little bit too much, that could have obviously came back to bite him. So fantastic round from them. 6th pick coming out now for both sides as Rare will go away from Abana onto Maverick. Canadian will be picking up smoke as well for the defense.
Things looking a little bit upsetting there for DarkZero as they had good positioning to try and close that one out. Had 2 players on top of the counter defuse, but failed to account for the top-down positions there. The FURIA were able to take with no resistance earlier in the round, mind you, as well. DarkZero had all the confidence in the world in their horizontal hold, but it didn't do much to stop the play from FURIA as they walk right down through white stairs and are able to get a freezer plant without too much of a conflict. A little bit beyond the freezer, I do believe. But either way, it works out for FURIA here as they take the opening round on the attacking side. Now DarkZero have to look for a response on much higher positioning here as they're going to go up to a 3rd floor hold where the geometry, the matrix of this defensive setup is a little bit more straightforward.
All right, well, we've pulled the cord on the back of Hyper, and he's 13-3. I think it's time to wind up Canadian at Eclipse, shall we? Especially in these coming rounds, we'd really like to see them get into this dogfight and assist DarkZero in pulling this one out. And if they do, it's a very good chance that they can start to run up some rounds again on this defensive side. Now for FURIA, climbing up towards the top of the roof. This is what you're going to see most teams do on Kafe to start off. A couple of pre-fires around the space, especially for this white window. This one happens all the time just because of the angle you saw Fantasy abuse. You can look all the way down to the ticket space, or rather the pixel space, and actually get some nice frags or anything on anybody that's trying to run up the white hallway. So make sure you're always checking that out if you are over in that area.
See the rest of FURIA here just building themselves up, waiting for the first opportunity to frag, and unfortunately, they're not going to find it. It's going to be NJR that pockets that kill instead, as Lenda tries to rappel down over on Cocktail's side and gets caught in the process on the Ash here, leading to his elimination first in this round here. That's the team, except for Miracle, struggling in that kill department at the moment, and Lenda's no exception to that, currently at 3 and 7. Rest of the team negative as well. Everyone except for Miracle struggling with that issue. Fantasy, though, moving in. He's going to look to try and change up his own fate as he takes piano control and looks to immediately leverage that pressure over here onto the Pixel and Bathroom hold. Not going to see a whole lot position here, though. He walks right in and he's like, oh.
Crouch walk.
Okay, it's empty. No ability to hop back over into Freezer, but he does have a very powerful position. Does some damage to Canadian, but no confirmation. He gets himself out of there just in time. And now, very rarely are we going to see him put his head back out again. The nade goes in, though, and no, NJR doesn't believe the threat is anything to worry about. A nade lands right up on top of his head. He takes him down in Fantasy. He's prepared to even get a second one. Oh, what an awkward play here. Eclipse had a Nitro out. Doesn't even need it, though, as it's going to be his gun that takes out Fantasy instead.
Oh, the amount of emotions that I just felt in the span of 15 seconds, John. That was ludicrous. Rare now into a 3 versus 4 for FURIA. Frag grenade out, and yes, Eclipse almost losing his life as well to the exact same situation that we just saw prior for NJR. Canadian on quite low HP, but he needs to stay alive because he still has a smoke in his pocket as well. FURIA are looking for this plant, and it looks like they want Heis to be able to sledge the trash wall so that they can be going for a plant here soon. They still have 2 other guns despite that, so they should be able to hold this down if they're able to clean up DarkZero as they try and prevent this from going on. Heis upside down on Repel here for White Window, but after Hyper gets that body and Miracle falls, Heis is the only one left alive. He's going to have to run all the way over to the Hell door and try an entry from that point.
Nade pressure after that first nade kill came out was unfortunate as well here. Heis, as you can see, not really able to use his at the moment just because he's been restricted too heavily on the Repel. And of course, he may have caught it. The second one whiffed a bit from Rare. He threw it right into an ADS, even though it was right in his pane of vision as well. So second one finally used out, but it's not really going to accomplish much. And speaking of not being able to accomplish much, time is running out here, so Heis won't be able to do anything. He's just going to take an L on this round, and DarkZero respond immediately after their initial loss downstairs and take a successful third floor hold, reinvigorating the advantage they had at the start of this half.
And Twister trying to reinvigorate this FURIA roster as they go down 2 rounds yet again to DZ. And I mean, what a story we've got in front of us here, Blue. Especially with how DZ has been playing over the last couple of days. It looked like this might not be the best, but obviously the bounce back against TSM, like we talked about earlier, showed some signs of life. And now, I mean, it seemingly wasn't a fluke. This is looking fantastic for them as they're able to pull ahead of FURIA and that 2-round lead yet again here. A 6 pick coming in from Echo to Valkyrie for Pambazoo. More information in either, basket that you go with, but Valkyrie a little bit more dominant when it comes to that frag heavy potential.
At a 5-3 scoreline, DarkZero sits only 2 rounds away from solidifying their first point, at a minimum, I should say, out of this series here by putting themselves up 1-0. FURIA as well looking to spend that off, though, looking to stop that from being challenged here. It's only 2 rounds behind their opponents. No huge surprises when it comes to our operator pick, specifically for the defense. Don't expect to see many big changes over the course of this half for our attacking lineup either, though we did see a small switch specifically for Lenda as he's gone from the Ash back over to the Yana, just because that's currently the trend for the meta. And aside from that, bringing everything we would come to expect for your general attacking roster on a Kafe lineup here. Specifically, again, the Finka making its way back into the fold for Fantasy as well to boost the team up and provide those adrenal surges if someone should go down at range. DarkZero, though, still going to extend themselves out now that they go back to the new site here. We're going to see them maintain 3rd floor positioning and try to fend off some of this early advances from the FURIA roster.
Speaking of the FURIA roster, Miracle, currently the top frag for FURIA, as he has been routinely for this team. He's been having a heater of a LAN, and fortunate enough for him, They're waiting for FURIA. They're looking to try and clamber back here on round 9. They do not want to give DZ this 6th round as they'll start climbing themselves to the roof and begin this clear yet again. Hyper's in a pretty unique position though, especially with this FMG9. Oof. A very, very nice shot there from Miracle. That was just some guesswork that ends up paying out for him.
Gonna go on the air jab duties after that, as already got his 1 for this round, but either way we'll certainly look for more if the opportunity presents itself. The rest of FURIA should be able to quickly clear out the rest of this 3rd floor hold. I wouldn't imagine there would be a whole lot of confidence in the cocktail play now that they've lost Hyper, but it does look like possibly one more player rotated back up unless they were committing to this one with 3 from the very beginning. Either way, NJR ready for the challenge here at the edge of white. He'll get a bit closer to the angle now that he's been spotted by the first drone here. And he does have a second player a little bit further back. I believe it's Eclipse supporting him inside of the other position over by Cocktail also. He's going to take him up a spot just outside of the window hop out here, though, and he does have an opponent sitting on a rappel outside of that, but definitely not wanting to challenge that anytime soon. And
swing and a miss.
This could be a bit awkward here. Both players spotting each other, and I think both potentially getting ready to swing out towards utility. NJR will find a bit more success in his avenue, though, as he's able to chuck out the Nitro, find Fantasy, and even us back up into a 4 versus 4. However, Lenda swinging back in immediately exchanges him. The advantage goes back into the pocket of FURIA here, and man, Lenda just barely surviving the secondary Nitro toss. That's it in terms of the explosive utility from DarkZero. Lenda will get down through the floorboards, but actually Rare, before Lenda can even be confirmed, is going to be taken out. What is that from Rare? Another one through the floorboards. Trades them both out. High saves the day, though, for FURIA as he wins out the final 1v1. And this round, instead, is going over to our LATAM squad.
What a round out of both of these teams. So very scrappy, especially with the rotation from DZ up to the top floor. Beautiful double kill there, but FURIA still able to muster that one as they will stave off DZ's 6th point here. So collect their 4th. It's a kitchen service, kitchen cooking defense now for DarkZero. They'll head back towards the basement, and hopefully it's not a ghost setup again, because I would really hate to see FURIA simply slip through the cracks.
Well, it's going to be another kitchen hold at the moment here for DarkZero, as they've already tried out their other usual site choices. Time to return to more familiar territory and see if they can yield success once again. Interesting enough that Tachanka also going to show its face here for DarkZero. Been seeing this happen from time to time with other teams as well. It's become a popular choice here to swap out Smoke for him instead, just because, again, this is a very large site. Oftentimes, the angles for the defense is going to be restricted more so towards a deeper portion of it, where you may not be able to necessarily chuck in one of those toxic babes. And even aside from that, you may need to block off multiple angles at once. It's a lot easier to do when you have 14 of those charges compared to 3 of them. Well, yes, they don't last for nearly as long and don't cover as large of an area. Doesn't matter if you just need to block a small doorway or a simple thermite or just can opener breach there. You can do it quite well with just a single one of those incendiary charges.
Absolutely, especially after they buff them just a little bit to make it to where they spread a little wider. Do a little bit more damage as well as, well, Tachanka right after his rework wasn't necessarily the greatest operator. He was definitely a very cool concept, but just wasn't working out how Ubisoft really wanted, so they gave him a little extra love, and now he's in a pretty solid spot, I would say, especially when it comes to his Kafe play. We'll see it yet again here, obviously, as John has been talking about with Eclipse now manning that op. We'll see if he'll be able to pilot it very, very well. DZ will be sticking to their guns, though, on the previous setup. It's the exact same, folks. I'm looking at the top down for you right now. It's still nobody in sight, everyone around the space, whether it be Red Stairs, Whiskey Bar, or VIP.
Eclipse will continue to hold this position stalwartly and gets an opportunity actually to grab one of the members of FURIA, but can't make the full connection onto the shot there. Fantasy will end up taking some heat in his own regard, but quickly gets that back up with an adrenal surge, so no huge harm, no huge foul this early on in the round here. FURIA still taking their time about things. We've only used a minute of the overall time bank, still plenty of opportunities for FURIA to try and set themselves up for a successful take yet again.
FURIA towards the top floor, needs some info game here inside of this space, but seemingly already aware that this top floor is clear. Seemingly aware that the second floor is clear as well, as Highs will be staring down the depths of Brown. And, well, as we're kind of getting some more interaction here with Highs, maybe not as clear as we initially proclaimed here for FURIA, as Highs still on edge as to where these DZ members could possibly be. About halfway through now as they begin clearing out this space. This is starting to look quite similar to what we saw the last time. Miracle won't not be able to get that camera that snuck into the corner there for DZ, and will keep some solid information. All of this verticality now being broken up by Highs can be pretty well managed here from DZ, minus the entry. Fantasy trying to find the chalk that's currently sitting out here. It's Eclipse, as will be sitting inside of Bakery.
I'm just waiting for this now, as will the rest of DarkZero. FURIA still taking their time about things. Another minute has gone by. Not a whole lot of forward progress has been made by the team. DarkZero again relying heavily on a horizontal setup. We can still see at least 2 players out from the site here. FURIA was able to brute force their way in regardless of this setup last time. They're going to be looking to do the same thing again as they pick up the first kill. The exchanges start to come in, but still favoring FURIA when the dust settles. However slightly this will be. Hyper caught off guard by a swing from Lenda, working down the red stairs, and now things look bleak for DZ, as only 2 remain, and both will be split up as well. NJR out on an island over here towards Baker. Actually, I'll correct myself. They're playing together here inside of Baker, but either way, leaves the site open for the taking. Their only saving grace is the lack of time right now. And
oh, he's got the lineups!
No confidence for FURIA, as they're finally going to be able to hop their way in. Where's the plant, though? Is it going to be able to work its way forward? Rare finally gets it down on the ground, but no!
Well, after we get the break done, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to like this one. It's going to be Amaru for the 6th pick.
Waiting to make sure it got locked in, and indeed it does. So Amaru coming in the fold for FURIA. We'll see how well this works out. We have seen it get picked once before in this tournament here. I believe it was also by a Latin American team. Player got
Why wouldn't it be? I mean, come on.
Player got immediately like wrecked at the beginning of the round, though, from what I recall. And I'm pretty sure
Why'd you have to say that?
Pretty sure it was also a basement take. So
it was.
Didn't really work too well this time. Probably going to be a bit better, so let's wait and see.
Well, you bounced back at the end there. I really appreciate that. So we'll see if it possibly works out here for Rare. About 15 seconds from finding out exactly what he wants to do with this, because, well, John, there's really only one reason to bring in Amaru, and that's to fly through a window or fly through a hatch in a very creative way, at least if you're BDS playing Consulate when that was in the map pool.
So we'll see where exactly the Gara Huck will find a target. Torrents could be a very bold play if they want to go directly for the site. Something like, once again, the dining room window. That would more than likely lead to an immediate pick for DarkZero, if my memory ends up being correct, and how those usually tend to pan out. But there's much more sneaky ways to utilize it and potentially put Rare on that operator into a power position through the use of the hook. We'll wait and see its first use here, as the team once again still needs to set themselves up for the initial clear here in Hyper. We're looking to stop the initial clear, as we can see him lined up to potentially fend off this play over towards Skylight. Miracle just needs to step forward to the correct amount, and he'll find him, but it's actually going to be Panbazoo that gets found out first here. He'll be caught by Fantasy. It'll be another 5v4 setup here from FURIA at the beginning of a round.
Well, now for DZ, they're having to fight from the downward space. Hyper will fall off from the long bar as he gets sussed out from the drone. Eclipse will stick around, though. Has a couple forms of himself around. The Prisma's here to be able to assist if somebody does want to end up pre-firing this. Tries to get the window access, but doesn't end up working out for him. Really worried about that man inside of Skylight as well, but should be worried about what's going on inside of Cigar as FURIA starts to muster their forces. Some micro smokes coming out here, as well as some possible fire arrows here from the Capitao very soon. Some stuns to burn things out. Hyper's worked his way back up into the space up White Stairs, and he's going to lose his life to Fantasy. Some nice shots from him, and he'll get the triple kill here as the map.
FURIA just waltzing right in, it seems, here. The extended setup from DarkZero leading to absolutely no success whatsoever. Way too bold with their capability to try and hold on to that one, and just no one able to close out a single fight here. So FURIA in pole position once more to quickly take control of their 5th round and put us on the final one of regulation, where we could see success. Picked up, and okay, maybe we're not done just yet. NJR to Canadian, both finding responses here. Might only be 2 of them, but they've made it a 2v3 here, down from a 2v5, and suddenly this round is a whole lot more palatable, especially with no one else having transitioned down from the 3rd floor yet.
Yeah, the big problem right now, though, is the prevention's all on NJR. Canadian uses Nitro Cell to try and blow someone up, whether it be through the floor or on the same level. We really don't know. know, but doesn't really matter at the end of the day. 40 seconds here remain for FURIA to actually get themselves in towards sight. Miracle still has some firebolts to be able to restrict access in certain spaces. Rare also might be looking for that hatch play like we were talking about before. We haven't seen him use the Gara hook just yet. Could come up into dining, but that might be ill-advised at the end of the day, as it seems like some DarkZero members are around the space. And JR will try and pressure through the smoke. He's got the SMG-11 out. One more smoke as well as Rare takes down Canadian. NJR will take down Miracle. The plant starts now for Rare. Does NJR have the covering? Knows where it's coming in from. Knows that one's up top, but the other angle now being able to be worked from Rare, and that's going to be a quad for him on the round. Very well done, as FURIA will stay alive.
NJR losing it right at the final seconds, but a valiant attempt made by him. However, the advances made by our LATAM team in the early round, way too much of an advantage for DarkZero to fight back from, despite the very nice attempt. Another pause here, folks, as DarkZero are going to call it very quickly. Never a better time than at the end of the match, of course, here, as they only need that one final round to solidify things for a 1-0 lead, but it seems it's been evading them quite a bit, so they're going to look to lock in one final strategy, get some input from the leadership squad here, get them a moment to relax and rethink what they're going to bring to the table, and then see if they can close it out. If not, we've got 3 more rounds that'll be chucked up on the board after this one. FURIA, you can see, trying to hype their players up as well. The coach certainly very emotive about the way that he's giving out his input at this point. So we'll see who will end up taking the cake on this 12th and final round.
Yeah, Twister has to be very serious about this one, Blue, because just as a reminder again, this is their map. They really, really need this, because if we're going about this in a traditional way, it should be a DarkZero 2-0 if they do get this map. But obviously we have opposite day quite often in Siege where people end up taking each other's maps, so we could still go to the full best of 3, but as of right now, DarkZero want to close this out in regulation. Here you guys go. We can look through all of the rounds and how they ended up going down. The big thing to point out right now is look at the amount of plants that DarkZero got.
Absolutely the case. DarkZero constantly forcing the issue on that, constantly being allowed into the site as well, with FURIA believing that they can pull off the retake, or just that last player or so kind of trying to go for a futile clutch, I think was the situation we had more often than not, as they would clear out like 3 to 4 players, and the last 2 would try to look for options to rotate back in. They'd really let the timer run down, and that would obviously force the plant more often than not, but oftentimes to very little result, as we saw there from the scoreboard. DarkZero controlling the large majority of them. They have come back on this attacking side, though, and are looking a lot more confident about themselves. So let's see if they can take it all the way, as they need just one more here to send us to a 6-6 scoreline to confirm the OT.
All right, well, DarkZero, as you said, headed towards the top floor to see if they can secure this. So much insight being brought from DarkZero right now, at least in secondary utility. 2 bulletproofs here for NJR as well as Hyper. Eclipse will be manning the ward in here as well. So could be seeing some sneaky glasses work their way in and possibly look through Rare's micro smoke bolts. That's a mouthful there. As FURIA will be out of the gates here in just a couple of seconds. Still that IQ along for the ride as well, so we'll see if this will end up working out for them. But the big thing is that all of this utility is not going to be as easy to find. Obviously, you can get the ADSs and things like that, but Miracle really wants to insert himself on that second floor so that he can utilize his scanner to its best ability.
Rest of FURIA starting to work their way up and just ascend to the top here to quickly begin the top-down clear process. Not going to be anything too eventful once again for that first minute. At the same time, nothing really crazy coming out here on the picks from either team. Rare bringing in the Capital once again. We'd already seen that one round previously on this very same site play. And once again, the more interesting one is going to be the Warden pick coming in for Eclipse, probably to use to play into a pixel position. So we'll see how he's going to be able to potentially help out DarkZero when his time comes. Fantasy in the same while also already inserting himself into the building, but from the second floor. So this could be interesting how he's going to try to potentially throw pressure out here against DZ. Seems like a much more quickly played out strategy coming in here from FURIA, but we'll have to wait and see what the actual execute is going to look like once Fantasy wants to show himself against the setup from DZ. And okay, once again, pitching himself fairly close to at least one member of this team. Will he expect Canadian to be hiding out downstairs here in Reading Room? That's the next question. Fantasy certainly thinking that someone's down here with the angles that he's opening up, but also not having the confidence to venture all the way forward onto white just yet either.
Oh, Canadian's going to pre-fire as well. It's like the boogeyman coming up the hallway there from Fantasy, but he's going to choose to go over towards Pillar side instead. They still have Highs down on the other end of the hallway as well, so Canadian's going to continue to hold on to this all on his lonesome. Miracle starting to take some heat, and Highs will find Canadian, just like we talked about before, as they will pinch him out. Highs finding Eclipse as well, and all of a sudden, this is looking like a FURIA round, at least for the moment. DarkZero needs to hit a seriously heavy swing in order to bring this back into their favor. Hyper trying to find one up top, but his shots will spray wide onto the Capitao of Rare as we enter the last minute.
Hyper simply waiting it out by the chassis here, going to hide in plain sight and see if that will potentially catch at least one or two of the members of FURIA off guard. DZ nearly brought a situation like this back in the previous round, but once again giving over these hefty advantages, failing inside of the opening duels is costing them hugely right now, as we've already seen one example of Hyper now trying to return shots, but he's got pressure on him from Repels. He's very quickly losing real estate up on top. Now down to just 2 from DarkZero as Fantasy confirms another one. The Smite Bro Flame Bolt's going to work their way out here as well, nearly catching Hyper for yet another occurrence here, as he's just barely keeping himself in and finally caught out by the Skeleton Key as well from Highs there to be able to eliminate Hyper and leave only Panba in this exchange. But he's got the M590 and he's got stairs control. That's not going to take him very far though. Fantasy, he's got the LMG and he's got the range to trade this one back out, as the overtime is now confirmed by FURIA.
I absolutely love Fantasy's energy every single time that we see their bench. Constantly with the very dapper hands as they come together, and very excited about that win over DZ, and they damn well should be. They came back from quite the deficit. Either way, now into overtime here, and this is where the rubber hits the road for both of these squads. FURIA is going to be on defense, DarkZero are going to be on the more dominant side between these two teams, which is the offensive side apparently, as Kafe usually tends to go defense like we always talk about, but this time definitely not the case. It's going to be a fire hall mining room defense here, as both of these teams seemingly preferring that in a certain sense. We haven't seen too many reading room defenses inside of this one, so we'll see if it works out for FURIA here on our first round of overtime.
I think quite a few teams favor this as the start point here, either this one or the reading room play that you were mentioning before. It's starting to become a bit of a trend inside of this tournament, and certainly something that we will be keeping our eyes on in the future as more and more of these get played out. Away from that though, we've got some familiar things reappearing here inside of this play. Most notably is going to be the Kona stations working their way out for Lenda, as that'll give FURIA the capability to kind of reboost themselves after the initial shenanigans will get played out up on the 3rd floor. Any players take some damage there, yep, they can fall back, get a nice little boost up and be at full strength to fend off the actual execute in that last 30 to 40 seconds of play here. So for DZ, once again, they'll have their work cut out for them, but they won't have too many surprises to deal with as everything falls in line with what we have been seeing here over the past 4 days.
Well, Rare going to get a camera outside here, but that might be picked up by DZ pretty quickly as, well, it's mostly towards the side that DZ spawned, so more than likely heard that end up hitting a rooftop or something along those lines, but we'll have to see. Only 20 seconds off the board here for DZ as they begin working this map. Hyper will come up onto White Top on this side because of the snow on here. That's called White Top. Other side called Black Top for those at home. They're a little bit fresher to the game, but at least that's what it's called rudimentarily speaking. A lot of teams have their own comms, so you might call it something different at home. You never really know. The ping's out as they're destroying these windows, at least over towards the White Top side. We'll have somebody repelled on the white window. That'll be NJR as he's got the counter here for Hyper just in case somebody does want to try and swing on bathroom or something like that. Canadian working himself in a pretty cheeky space. He'll get found out, but that F2 is just a little too damn good when it comes down to the battle up against the MPX. Canadian will take down Rare.
Highs is going to continue to wait for an opportunity for the swing to come out from White. Panba keeping overwatch here also, hoping once again to maybe catch the player sitting up on top, and he's certainly going to give an opportunity too, but he's a little bit too slow on the reaction. Lenda's allowed to trigger the Nitro Cell before going down, so it only leads to an even exchange that's still going to favor our friends on DarkZero inside of this situation here due to the earlier kill that they got as well.
That's honestly terrible given the circumstances. No more soft destruction for the DarkZero lineup as NJR was the only one wielding the hammer. Halfway through the round now as FURIA have found some headway, but obviously still down a man, but they could equalize at any moment. They've got their top frags all still alive, but as soon as I say that, Fantasy to fall as he'll be downed. Hyper with some low HP as well, but you can say the same about Canadian. Will they be able to secure this res? That's the real question here. High's now looking to the bottom hell door to see if he can do anything about this. Canadian will repel the south side of the building here to see what he can achieve as he opens up the dining window. Canadian actually going to end up finding Fantasy, but that was just the down player, I do believe, bleeding out. Highs with one on the Hyper. Eclipse fires back. It's all left up to Miracle inside of a 1 versus 3. He'll slap Eclipse, who jumps down off of the balcony.
1 down, 2 to go here, and 40 seconds to bait out. It's certainly not impossible, but now it is, as Panba knocks him out of the round here, and DZ finally take that round. It was very much needed inside of the end of regulation, but evaded them for some time. However, it's going to find them now here on the outset of overtime as they take the lead.
So the real question that we have to ask ourselves is, where do you go if you're DarkZero? I don't necessarily think that you go towards the basement just because they understand what the play is down there now. They're more than likely going to look for your bakery setup and try and get rid of your Tachanka. So don't go downstairs. What do they choose? Well, they're going to choose Reading Room, Fireplace, Hall. Probably, arguably, the best site across Kafe for the defenders simply because of the way that it ends up breaking down for you. Like we talked about earlier, if you have a solid delay upstairs, there's a very good chance that you can end up winning out the round. The verticality is pretty dangerous at the end of the day just because, well, it mostly isn't any site when it comes down to it. But still, there's a lot for DZ to do inside of this area where they can have some serious effects up against FURIA. Now for the FURIA side, they're going to send a curveball at DZ, an operator that we haven't seen this entire game. It's going to be Ying.
So let's see how a Ying play will end up working out here, specifically once again for a Reading Room hole. This is not necessarily a super common choice we see coming into play fairly often, but it makes sense again considering the flash execute that our attackers will potentially need to go for here. Not necessarily a whole lot of ways to stop that from the DarkZero side of things. Yeah, they've got the laser gates, but those are almost always going to get dealt with beforehand, and unless an ADS is stuck in somewhere very sneaky at the same time, that is also going to more than likely get flushed out well before any of those candelas are thrown into the room here. I mentioned, of course, the usual transition that is made over towards Janitor could very well provide an excellent opportunity, an excellent window to throw all those candelas directly into and flash out the large majority of the Insight presence in Reading Room itself for DarkZero.
Full setup up top for DarkZero inside of Cocktail, as to be expected. To Castle Barricade to look over the deployable shield inside of Cocktail as well, as FURIA have already gotten to the roof and began their working of the hatches. Highs, a little dink on the second one, but a secondary swing. I mean, I'll take 2 out of 3 if I were you. Either way, now FURIA will have to sit on the drone game here and see what they can do with this top floor information. They'll be looking in towards Christmas initially and droning out towards Whitehall, as we'll have a rappel here on the Christmas window from the sledge to be able to support Fantasy.
Fantasy ready to begin working his way around here and start dealing with the extended play from DarkZero, but also going to see him, never mind, go directly down to the second floor entrance on red here. He's going to see some of those pre-made holes over towards dining and probably be a bit cautious about it, but also seems to want to test the waters a little bit with some nades working their way in. That is going to be to try to pressure the third floor hold from our player inside of Freezer. Panba takes a little bit of damage from that nade, as you can see, but he's way off the mark in terms of actually hitting him head on for the full kill, so he'll survive and he'll continue to maintain his spot inside of the Freezer vault.
I'm a little scared for when I go home and try and queue up ranked with the amount of grenades that we've been seeing underneath the floor at this LAN. I feel like I'm just going to be sitting in a corner and all of a sudden get blown sky high. And speaking of getting blown sky high, FURIA, they're going to lose 2 bodies. It's Rare and Fantasy both down as the Ying Candelas go out. Highs will find Hyper, but Highs will also go down to NJR. Lenda needs to pick up this case, and Miracle needs to be here for some Overwatch, but with a minute remaining, what they really need is a couple more kills. They don't even have top secured here, as Miracle is around the white area. That barbed wire will obviously give up his location. Lenda's still downstairs inside of 90, as DarkZero are simply going to sit on their hands. They don't have to move all that much. All they need to do is make sure that the site is secure and that this plant cannot go down. It's up to FURIA to make the active play.
Miracle's the one going to move himself forward, but neither of these gates have been dealt with. No flashes remain in the pocket of FURIA either, so they're not going to be able to blend that out fairly easily. Lenda left alone now. Does have smokes to play with and actually finds a very palatable kill here now to take out NJR. That's opened up the site play, and that's going to be a potential plant opportunity too. Eclipse is going to look to mitigate that out, but they have no idea where this player is positioned at right now. Not inside of any default. Thankfully, it's a quick hop over the banister, and we can see Eclipse shut it down directly on the inside of the site as DarkZero yield control of map number 1. They need to take it to overtime to do it, but the job is done at 8-6 as they go up 1-0 on the series and guarantee at least one more point for themselves to finish off this group.
An extremely heads-up play there from Eclipse, but you